Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am Dr. Claudia Albers, Planet X research and professional physicist. And today I'd like to bring to you another one of my articles. This one's entitled Huge Planet X Moon in the Sky over California. Again, energy and orbits. Now, figure 1 shows a photograph sent in by Beth of the sky over Northern California on August 28, 2019. And it shows once again the cloud formations which form on the surface of the Planet X planetary central cores or stellar cores, which have come to Earth to extract energy from Earth's core system, and that are now in orbit around the Earth, coming inside the Earth's atmosphere at the perihelion of the orbit. When inside the lowest part of the Earth's atmosphere, the increased energy absorption results in the objects creating cloud on their surfaces, which is clumpy and thus has gaps in it. The objects also emit blue light from these surfaces as a result of the energy absorption process. The process seems to be the same one that causes the Earth's atmosphere to emit more blue light than other wavelengths of visible light, and thus causes Earth's skies to be blue. And so here you can see this very clumpy cloud with spots where you can see the blue surface of the object, the gaps. Very clumpy, and the sun looks like a reflection of the surface. So this is an indication that there is a solid surface right behind the cloud. And these objects would be most likely between 1,000 and 2,000 kilometers in diameter. They can go up to the size of the moon, which is 1,700 kilometers. This appears to be the maximum size that is compatible with the Earth's core system. The objects do not come down to as low an altitude as the smaller cores, which also create cloudless envelopes, but these are much denser, so that the surface of the objects are not usually seen from the surface. They seem to remain at altitudes much higher than those at which planes fly, but most likely lower than 66 kilometers. That's 41 miles. And you may look at Article 1025 entitled NASA Lies, the ISS Cannot Possibly Be in Orbit for more details, where I talk about why I came up with that value. That's basically the maximum value at which the Earth's atmosphere would lead to something having a blue color like this, or at least the energy flowing through the Earth's atmosphere. Now, this is the surface of one of these objects. You can clearly see this is the solid surface of one of these objects. The cloud clinging to its surface follows the contour of the surface. So this is a solid surface. This is the cloud which they form at these points, which are called connection points, where they actually make gravitational connections with the Earth's core system. So energy is actually absorbed at these points more than at any other point on the surface, and this is then where they make this sort of cloud which then hangs down in these gravitational connection points. And this is a clearing on its surface, which most likely when the object is outside and there's no cloud clinging to its surface anymore, it will most likely would look like a crater. And you may look at Article 1029 entitled Planet X's New Moons Orbiting the Earth, the Irrefutable Evidence. Now, here's another photograph. This one was sent in by Sandra from Ben Lomond, California. That was it's near Santa Cruz. And this image is from July 11th, 2019. As you can see, it shows a flat surface covered in clumpy clouds. So this would be the surface of one of these objects. And again, you see this cloud formation, which are called cloud spout formation, which forms at these clearings, which are connection points. And it points downwards because it's been attracted by the Earth's core that this object has made a gravitational connection with. So there's a gravitational connection in operation here, which is attracting the cloud. It's allowing the object to absorb energy and form this cloud at the connection point as well. And you may look at Article 1011 entitled Planet X Cataclysm, Size and Closeness of the Objects Responsible. Now, this is one of the smaller cores. It's covered in a cloud envelope made out of water vapor, but there is a break in this cloud envelope at the top. This cloud envelope is usually denser at the bottom. That's why they usually not seen from the surface, but from above they are seen. But also this is a much smaller core, which obviously fits inside the Earth's atmosphere, so that the top of the object, which is clearly spherical and solid, you can see that there, the surface of the object, we can see the top of the object. So it's much, much smaller than these objects that produce these flat surfaces with the clumpy cloud. And the huge Planet X objects, which turn into Earth moons, are too large then to completely fit inside the Earth's lower atmosphere and simply penetrated, so that cloud forms on their lowest surfaces. Cloud formation is thus a direct consequence of energy absorption. So this is another of the photographs sent in by Beth. And surface features can actually be discerned on the almost flat surface, which look like fissures and a ridge. This looks like a ridge to me. This looks like a fissure or a crack on the surface running along the surface. So the cloud formation actually adapts to any surface features on the object, and you can almost see what these features are from the gaps in the cloud formations. You can see this looks like a gap that we can follow right along. So this would most likely be a fissure on the surface of the object. You can also see that some parts seem to be closer to the camera than others, and this would mean that there would be something like undulating gentle hills with valleys in between, and this part seems to be closer to the camera, so it's most likely comes down to a lower altitude. So that will be closer to the Earth's core from which this object, or the Earth's central core, from which it's absorbing energy. So most likely that's why the cloud formation is different. So you can see it's denser here, so this may be at an even lower altitude than that one, but it's also the clumps are larger than the clumps that we see there. These seem to be smaller. So we see different types of cloud formation, which most likely indicates different elevations for the different regions on the surface. And here you can see another one of these photographs sent in by Beth. You again see that the sun looks like it's a reflection of the surface. So this suggests that this cloud is in contact with the surface. The sun simulators in orbit cannot penetrate through the solid object, so it's produced by a way of simulating the sun, so that it looks like it's actually reflecting off the surface, because it cannot be above the surface. It's a solid surface. So now this is an image, a photograph, which is from Pennsylvania. I actually took this photograph. And again, you can see clumpy cloud formation, but it's denser. You can hardly see any gaps in it. So most likely this formed after some time of the object being in the atmosphere. It would have still formed on the surface of the object. But the sun does not actually look like it's reflecting off the cloud anymore. In this case, it actually seems to be behind the cloud, which suggests that the object has most likely lifted or moved upwards through the atmosphere, disconnected and moved away, and left the cloud that formed on its surface behind. So in this case, the sun simulator seems to be above this cloud. So it shows that the cloud detaches eventually as the object moves off, because by then it loses the gravitational connection. It's no longer absorbing energy, so it's no longer forming any cloud on its surface as it moves up through the atmosphere. So the cloud that had formed on its surface obviously disconnects from the surface, and it remains behind in the atmosphere. It will then most likely break up into pieces and eventually disperse. They are lower cloud formations. These may be cloud envelopes around the smaller planet X cores in the atmosphere, if they are dense enough. Otherwise, there will be pieces of cloud that have broken off cloud formations that are cloud envelopes for these smaller objects, or cloud formations from that formed on the surface of these huge objects. Thus, cloud always forms on the surface of a planet X core in the Earth's lower atmosphere, which is making a gravitational connection with the Earth's core system, which then allows it to extract energy from the Earth's core. The gravitational interaction has an energy component. The strength of the interaction is determined by the amount of energy in the core. Thus, planet X cores, when they first approach the Earth, will be capable of only a weak gravitational attraction through which they can extract only a small amount of energy from the distance of closest approach. As they gain energy, they will be able to create more cloud and exert a stronger attraction on the Earth's core they connect with, and will thus be able to extract more energy from it. However, as planet X cores gain energy, they will also be more strongly repelled by the Earth's core system, because there are always two parts to the gravitational interaction, an attractive part and a repelling part, and they will thus not be able to approach us closely. This is why they will eventually, once they have reached a state of energy equilibrium, go into a state of equilibrium at a distance which is quite far from the host planet. That's why Earth's original moon, which was initially one of these objects that came in as these objects are and forming cloud on its surface and coming into the Earth's atmosphere, is now in a near circular orbit. It's reached a state of energy equilibrium. It is able to extract enough energy at the distance that it is from the surface of the Earth to maintain its energy state. So their initial extremely eccentric orbit, which brings them very close to the surface of the host planet, is a sign of extreme energy depletion. During the time when they are very close to the surface, they extract energy which causes them to eventually be repelled as their energy increases. This is why they come in, they make a connection, they extract energy for a while, and then their energy level gets to such a point where they are repelled away from the surface of the Earth. So they move off again. And that stops them from connecting gravitationally and thus extracting energy through that gravitational connection. So they then move away and resume their orbit, which takes them further out, but the energy they have extracted decreases because they are not able to retain a strong enough gravitational connection at the distance, at that further distance, to continue to extract the necessary energy at these greater distances from the host. It may take a long time for the core to not be so energy depleted that it is able to maintain its level of energy at the greater distances, which allows it to maintain a more circular orbit, but never as close, because once the energy level increases, they will be more strongly repelled by the Earth's core system. So the distance of closest approach will be much further. Now here's another one of those photographs which I took today, and it looks like a flat surface with plenty of clumpy cloud and several patches of no cloud, which may indicate the presence of deep, wide fissures on the surface of the huge planet X core, on which surface this cloud formed and may still be attached to. It's not clear in this case if it's attached to. We do not see the sun, but this is most likely the surface of one of these objects. And if it's not, then the object it was initially, because this cloud would have formed on its surface before it lost the connection and moved off further away from the surface of the Earth to resume its orbit only to become depleted again and come in again for another connection and another extraction of energy through that gravitational connection that it makes once again. So they will do this over and over and over again. So these objects, however, are not benign, as the energy extracted from the Earth will eventually cause Earth's smallest outer cores to become energy depleted and stop functioning, which will cause the planet to die, just like Mars seems to have died as a result of this same process. And you may look at Article 1083 entitled Planet X Destroyed Mars and is now destroying Earth for more details. So in conclusion, cloud forms on the surface of Planet X cores, Planet X planetary central cores, which are orbiting the Earth and are entering the Earth's lower atmosphere, produce flat surfaces of clumpy cloud. These objects are extremely energy depleted and thus new arrivals at Earth. And this causes them to follow extremely eccentric orbits, which often brings them very close to the surface of the Earth. And these are the references. This is Dr. Claudia Albers, Planet X physicist. Thank you for watching.